Hello, everybody. Welcome to Members Unplugged, Unplugged with an N, an initiative of Division N, District 98. It is indeed a great moment for me today, and there are many reasons why. My guest today is someone whom I came to know much, much later, that she's a member of my division. She has been a famous personality in her own field throughout these months, years, and I had no idea. But when I did come to know about it, I had to grab this opportunity to get to know the person behind the Toastmaster. And so today we have on our episode Toastmaster Aparna Prabhudesai. Aparna, welcome to Members Unplugged. And it's a sheer joy, a personal pleasure for me to have you here and sit and chat with you.
Thank you so much, Mayuri. I know we've been talking about this and you'd approached me way back, but I'm glad we're having this conversation. Our Toastmaster meetings are usually so short and brief, and we have certain roles to play and it just brushes past. So it's not just for me that you are saying you're meeting the person behind the Toastmaster. I think it's equally for me that I get to meet the person behind the distinguished Toastmaster. So
Thank you.
I'm equally looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks, Aparna. So, for the benefit of my viewers over here, let me tell you, Aparna is a certified, she's an executive coach, a certified master practitioner, master trainer from NFNLP USA, and a certified OD consultant. We'll talk about that later. But besides all of this, there is something that she has received which is extremely prestigious. It is the Chhatrapati Krida Puraskar from the Maharashtra state government, the highest award for sports person. And congratulations on that, Aparna. And the reason why she has been receiving all of this is because she's one of those rare breeds, rarest of rare breeds, who has scaled the Mount Everest. I cannot think of climbing a hill. She's gone to scale the Mount Everest. It is indeed, we will be talking a lot about all of this, Aparna, but I'd like to take you back to where it all began. When did it occur to you, and what was it that triggered in you this passion to go into and literally go to the highest peak, and why?
So, it's an interesting one because one thing that I probably want to share about me, even before I begin anything else, is I've never done anything in my life since I've been a child, probably as small measures. Everything
Has
is,
been large.
yeah, it's and it's always the end. My mother keeps saying, "Isn't there like something mid?" And it isn't. It just extremes. So that's where I swing between. It's all or nothing. Um, Mercedes Benz, which is a client of mine, I pretty much sort of imbibe and live their tagline that the organization has, which says "best or nothing." Yeah, so that's really where it is at. But and maybe that was something that caused this particular journey also. So for me, what's been very interesting is I've been a zero sports person my entire life. Growing up years, though I came from an armed forces background, I was never into sports. Never liked them, primarily because you dirty your clothes, you dirty yourself. So sports was never my core at any point in time, right? And so I stayed away from it forever. And then I guess I say this often that life has a way of teaching you lessons when you least expect them, and it makes sure that you learn it in this lifetime. Right? That there is no after that you know about. So it says, okay, pick up everything right here. So I've stayed away from sports, and I've said, not me, not getting there. And then all of a sudden, so much later, so I was already 40, getting into my 41st birthday, and for some reason that, well, maybe medical sciences will now figure out because now I finally have some sort of a diagnosis. But for some reason that we didn't have any clue about, my bones started breaking up. And of course, first reaction was, here's a 40-year-old, so women 40, osteoporosis, first thing declared, right? So get check, do a bone density scan. And it does look a little bad, but it's not so bad that there should be like fractures. Then there is saying, okay, maybe there's arthritis. Let's look up. So then there's a test done. Arthritis, no. Rheumatoid arthritis, no. Then now began some serious tests. Okay, so doctors checking what's wrong. And in the meantime, my condition just becomes worse, from one fracture to another fracture to a third bone break, etc. is happening. And in that, and this is over like a couple of months. And while all these tests are happening now, as I said, some serious stuff starts happening. We'll check for bone marrow cancer and some other tests, God knows all those. I'd soon become like a guinea pig, popping pills as painkillers. And in a span of less than 4 months, the only way I could really move, of course, because there were multiple fractures and stuff, I was using a walker and eventually a wheelchair. And then seeing certain doctors being told that, if you want to stay pain-free, you're going to have to move with support. You can't do it without. So a normal professional suddenly now being told that this is how you're going to look at life for the rest of your life. And I pulled on another 6 or 7 months like that. Movement in the house with a walker, movement outside of the house, carrying that wheelchair. And believe me, India is just so not
friendly.
Disability friendly.
Correct.
We have a big problem with that. So it's having looked like that, gone through it, etc. I remember I was at a workshop in Bangalore and we were talking about how the particular workshop we talked about how strong the mind is. So when I say mind, professionally or education, I'm a behavioral psychologist. And we were doing this thing about human behavior and all of that. And something about how if people think they're ill, and if you wish ill of others, they become ill. And we had a proof we'd done that or in the workshop and somebody had gotten very ill. And so on the way back from Bangalore, I was thinking to myself saying, if somebody can become ill when you think, you can also become all right if you think. Right? The mind is supposed to be all powerful.
Power of thoughts. And
thought, absolutely, right? Power of thought, think, intent, and it says that. I mean, today when you said NFNLP, which is, the Federation for Neuro-Linguistic Programming in Florida, we always say energy follows thought. That's a very neuro-linguistic thing saying when you have a thought, so be very careful what you think because energy follows thought. So if you think of something, good or bad, it is going to happen. And all these thoughts were on. And when we reached Pune city, I said, I'm done, no more. From this moment, I'm going to live the way I want to. I don't want someone telling me I can't walk or I can walk. And I, got off that plane being told you can't get down. You have to sign a waiver because there's a wheelchair asked for you. And I said, nothing doing. I'll sign whatever you want, but I don't want that. I'm going to walk. It's painful, was not easy, but I did. And I reached home in a fit of anger. My brother called. He was upset because my elder one had come to pick me up from the airport. And he says, why are you walking? And I said, I'm done, no more. And I called up my other brother who's in Canada, who's a doctor. And I was raving and ranting about, you guys don't know what you're doing and you're just messing up my life. And I said, listen, from now, no more, no wheelchair, nothing. I'm going to prove all of you wrong. I'm going to walk. I'm going to run. I'm going to reach the highest point on earth. And he says, okay, calm down. Go to sleep.
Just said it just like that.
Just like that, right? In a fit of anger.
Yeah.
And I'm saying highest point on earth. And then he says, okay, calm down. Go to sleep. Let's talk tomorrow morning. And so morning in Canada for him, it's the end of the day. And he calls and he says, are you feeling better? And I said, yeah, but I mean what I said yesterday. And he says, oh, okay, that's still on. And he says, do you realize highest point on earth is Everest? And I'm like, really? Okay, so be it. I will climb Everest. Yeah. I had no clue what I was saying when I said that. But I guess it gave me something to look forward to. And he said, okay, so that's where it began. That's the why. And rest, like they say, is history.
So that was the reason, or let's say that was the moment when you said, okay, I will now defy all odds and do what I wish to do and go and climb the Everest. Now, of course, from the medical aspects, it must have been very, very daunting and extremely challenging. So in a very short capsule, would you be able to tell us what were the different, let's say physical exercises or medical training that you needed to take to scale the Everest?
So medical, nothing. Like I said, from that day, I stopped all medicines of any kind. But physical, yes. What my brother did tell me was that this looks like a bone issue, so let's build muscle strength. So that's where I began my running. And 2013, at the age of 43, is when I walked the first 3 kilometers. Attempted to run. It was supposed to have been a run. I just walked most of it, but I did that. And the journey began from there. Then came in running, came in cycling, came in a lot of treks, came in building my technical abilities, because now I worked it backwards. 2013 when I began that journey, and I had gone and declared saying 2017 summer, I'm going to climb Everest. I began the journey backward. Right now, the goal was set.
Yes, I was about to say that. So there's a goal in place, and you start working towards it.
Then you work towards it, right? And when you work towards it, in effect, what you're doing is you're working backwards. You're not going towards the goal. You're working backwards, saying, okay, so to be able to get there, what do I need? And then where is it? And where am I today? Right? And then you fill in the gaps. It's really like that. So which is what I started doing, and then began the exercises. Initially, it was lesser time. I would still continue to have my bone troubles, so I'd live with that. I had some fantastic casts made by my brother, which are not POP. Like POP is heavy, so he'd done these fiber things that you can snap on, and they give you the same kind of support, but they're not that heavy. And there've been races when I've worn those, and I've still run.
Oh,
and that 3 kilometer became soon a 5 and a 10 and a 21 and a 42 and a 50 and a 75 and eventually 100. But that's the distances that I've been running. So for a person who first 40 years of life did not like sports, today most of the places I get introduced as an endurance athlete. And it's really ironical that it is where it is. I mean, I was, when I did climb, I was India's oldest woman on Everest. I have gone, I'm the first one from Maharashtra on the north side, because I went from the Tibet side of Everest, which is not where people do. It's more technical and things like that. But it's just been, so there's been a lot of effort in terms of, I think those 4 years from 13 to 17 before I climbed. The year 17, from Jan to April, was the maximum training, of course. Before that was being able to balance personal life, professional life, and the workouts. From Jan, I think I shut everything else out. And then those 3 months, January to end of March, I only focused on working out for the mountains. I was doing about 6 hours of physical training in a day and one odd workshop of work.
That's huge, 6 hours per day.
Per day. And a day would, I had workshops which were very far and apart. Work professionally, I'd cut down on almost all work. But if I did have work and a workshop that began, let's say, at 9:30, my day would begin at 2:30 in the morning. And I would do my 4 hours of workout, and then do food and lunch and other things, and get to work, do a full day work, come back and do the balance 2 hours, which I hadn't done in the morning.
So 2 things from this, Aparna. One, that once you have a goal in place and you want to steadfastly move towards that goal, you will make compromises and adjustments in your life. And the second thing is, where there is a will, you will see it happen. I think there's something close to this that you mentioned earlier. Your favorite quote, I would say, or something that you really believe, the mantra of your operating system. If you believe in it, you will see it, right? That's what you say.
Yeah. So for example, in English language, I mean, we have this phrase which says, seeing is believing.
True.
Right? We hear that often, and we say seeing is believing. I say it's the other way around. If you believe in it, you will see it. Believe in, and I wish I had sort of talked about this statement a little earlier. The whole book's secrets could have been written by someone else, perhaps. But that's what it is. You have to truly, and the smallest of things, I tell people, believe, and with that intention, with that power of saying, I truly believe. Our challenge is, most of us don't believe. Somewhere we have that little doubt, either self or on the opposite person, or in the universe to provide. So for me, when you say, that being the mantra, that believe in it and you'll see it, to it, I also add saying, there has to be that
unwavering faith and knowing that it will happen.
Unwavering. I mean, being a sort of Urdu student, the only word that comes to my mind is shiddat. That's what it is. That it is all encompassing. It is larger than everything else. It is at the cost of everything else.
Absolutely.
You're saying your goal at one side and the rest of it all on one side. Am I willing to give up everything for that one? That's that that
And at
dedication.
the same time, you did not really give up completely. You cut short down your professional engagements, but then you woke up at early in the morning, made sure that you completed your professional commitments too. So that means you're ready because there's something that really is motivating you. And I think we all learn all of this from you as well. If you really wish to do something, you'll find a way to do it.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to really give up on the rest.
You don't have to.
You just have to make tiny adjustments here and there.
Yeah.
And it gets going.
Yeah. And what happens is, the minute you pour, the word is passion.
Of course.
Because then you pour it in and you realize that passion transcends every area.
Yeah.
So for me, and I don't know if the passion comes in first or is it the passion that leads to this, so is it the passion that causes it, or is it that the sport or the achievement brings in the passion? I don't know which one is, it's a chicken and egg thing really. But that passion drives into everything that you do. So for me, I keep saying this, that I begin with the fact that my first and foremost is, I'm in love with life, right? That's to me the biggest, and I am ashamedly sort of, or rather unashamedly in love with everything and everyone. I am falling in and out of love with practically everything and everyone. I mean, men, women, kids, people, objects,
places, everything.
Yeah, it's just like that. Life is colorful. Life is about no regrets and no whatever. There are learning. Life is always about learning, but it's not about regret. You learn your lessons and you acknowledge that, oh, I was wrong, and one moves on, right? But it's just that. And colors, I think to me, and it's interesting. We're talking on a day which is just Holi and prior to Holi, but colors, they are so essential.
And aren't we blessed to be in India with all the vibrant colors we have?
Absolutely, right? I mean, so even something, to talk about saying colors and why, because that's what I mean when I say I love life. If you've observed, I'm sure you've realized, if these walkers, these wheelchairs are these horrible, boring grays and blacks. For some reason, best known to people, we make these really sad looking things. I guess you're supposed to be sad if you're in one of those. I would sit and I would tape up fluorescent tapes on my walker. On my wheelchair, I had these colorful cutouts and pictures pasted just to make it colorful, saying I am not moving around in something that doesn't look pretty. Yeah, it's critical.
So I think the fact that you also come from a psychology background also helps, because you realize that these colors, they add to your temperament, your mood, they lift your spirits, and then you feel you get the energy. Even if you didn't have it, you get the energy and the will to move around, right?
Yeah.
So tell me,
I'm sure you've realized it. We're all working from home right now in the COVID times, and because it's an online call, why bother getting up? Because no one's really looking at me. Why dress up? And I keep saying, the minute in the morning you get up and you do yourself up, it brings a very different.
And more than anybody else, you do it
you
for yourself. You do it for yourself. You don't do it for the world. You do it
exactly. Yeah. Which is what I was saying to you the first time we had interacted. I mean, literally the first time. I think it was my second Toastmasters meeting, and I'd spoken at table topics or something, and you were on it. And the first thing that sort of attracted me was that same kind of energy that I could sense and feel, right? And one of the reasons that to keep participating in the Toastmaster meetings right now is just that we may be offline in the sense that, it's not a in physical space and we are an online session. But when it's our turn, we turn on the cameras and it gives us an opportunity to see and be, because that's what humans are all about.
And currently, all of us are going through the same phase. So I think,
feeling isolated, then rather than rely on someone else to pep you up, if you did do that for yourself, and it's very essential.
Just like you did it for the mountain for yourself. You didn't have to prove to anybody else. It was for yourself that you did.
Exactly. Yeah. It's your own, and these are little things, but little steps.
Yes.
And taking that first step is critical, I think. We most of the times we don't do that.
So tell me, Aparna, there is this foundation that you have also spoken to me about on the phone. So would you like to share what it is about and what do you do through the foundation?
So Adventures Beyond Barriers, that's the foundation. And we are looking to work with persons with disability. Now in this, and we use sports as a medium, right? So the idea being that Most of us, and I said, I experienced it firsthand. I knew what it felt like. And people mean good, okay? It's not that people don't mean good. But suddenly when you see someone who's in a wheelchair, or you see someone who's blind, or you see somebody who has a child accompanying who's autistic, there is this certain pity that comes in. And from a place of pity, which is intentionally good, but we are saying, oh, I feel so sorry, you don't have this. You suddenly seem to identify a lack in that person, and you say, oh, I'm all okay, and you have a problem. And in that, we are creating disparity. We are saying we are better than somebody else, but we are not doing anything to really add value to them. Also, because as a society, if I have a child who's not all okay, I want to hide that child because, whom do I talk about? I talk about my child who's topped in the class. I talk about my child who's very pretty, who's coming in ads or commercials or something. I talk about a child who's very confident. If I have a shy child, I as a parent speak about him and I don't really let the child do the talking.
And he gets even more introvert then.
Yeah, if I have a child who doesn't do well in school, I will talk about my child who does well, the other child who does well, because it's about getting that acceptance, right? Now, in that, God forbid, there's a child with disability, we definitely don't want to bring him out. And hence, if you realize, I'm sure, at the age that you are, at I am, in our schools, did we have anybody with disability? No. Did that mean those kids didn't need education? They did, but nobody really, we had special schools for them, right? We didn't know what to do. My experience of blind people was people who sang in trains, who maybe made candles or chalks or something like that. And they have an equal right to live. So when we came up with this foundation, we look at, so now when I go trekking, when I go mountaineering, when I cycle, I have people with all sorts of disabilities who do all this with me. Everest Base Camp trek that I take every year, I have people from all over the world now coming in, blind, paraplegics, autistic, deaf and mute, name the disability, and we've got people, and able-bodied, and we go together,
And this is a yearly thing that you do with
Yes,
them?
yes.
And how does one get in touch with you? Of course, I would love to spread the word. So how do we get in touch with you?
So we have a website. You can log in. You can volunteer to come with us. It's called Adventures Beyond Barriers. So abbf.in is the website. You just have to log in and volunteer. Every year we have a cycling expedition, which we do Manali to Khadungla. And we have tandem cycles. So the blind cycle, there's like a combined cycle.
Okay.
And two people. So you have a sighted person who's the pilot. Both have to cycle. So it's not that only one person cycles, but all the way from Manali to Khadungla. Last year, I had these two girls who went, and I went all the way, and it was their first exposure out of their city, forget about outside state. And they cycled with me all the way to Khadungla top.
Wow.
Two blind girls who now feel they can conquer the world. Right? We had the Mumbai Marathon where we had 125 persons with disability run a 10-kilometer race in the open category with everybody. And all my 125 finished in a good time. And we had some CEOs run with us. And these guys instantly said, oh, if they can do this, they can do everything. What is their education ability? And they've been hired. We were actually able to place 376 people within the first month after the marathon.
Excellent. This is splendid, brilliant. And I'm going to certainly spread, because I know of an organization here in Nagpur. I'm definitely going to get in touch with you after the call is over.
Yeah, and more of the people who join in, the better it is, because it's a movement, right? It's about just being able to give back. I've received so much from the society. I'm lucky today with where I am. I take care of my health now. I'm very watchful of what I eat and what I do, and my workouts have to continue every single day, even now, because that's the only way my muscle strength stays. But I am on my feet. And there are people out there who never really can. So it's about, I think.
To all those ladies who are watching, even those who are above 40 and think, now I'm 40, I won't be able to do it. I wish that they see this video and they take inspiration from Aparna and say, well, she could do it. She was almost wheelchair bound. I'm going to do it too. And if
at 47, right?
Right. So, and if not scale the Everest, at least start walking, jogging, getting yourself. I think it's more about having the courage and the will to do it, and then nothing is difficult. Nothing is difficult. Absolutely not.
Totally.
Wonderful. So, Aparna, this was one part about you that I really wanted to know more. Now, on the professional front, I know that you are a member of InfoCepts Toastmasters Club, and that's how I got to meet you. So, professionally, could you let us know your background and what is it? I mean, you did mention about the coach thing. What kind of trainings do you take?
So I started off as a trainer. It was interesting. I never wanted to work. So I come from the old school of thought. I know a lot of women are not going to like me for saying this, but
I'll agree with you. I can say that upfront. I'm one of those women who says I'm quite happy to be a homemaker as well.
exactly, right. So I came from that place of saying, well, a woman is at home, she manages children. That's what keeps a family and a society together, because it's the woman who's the binding glue of the society. While the male of the species may contribute to expanding a certain species, it's the woman that keeps the glue and the binding, right? So I came from that school of thought. I was raised to believe that I needn't work, I don't have to work, and my man would provide, etc. So in spite of education, one never looked at a professional career. Well, life had different things in store, and I needed to get to work, and I started working, and I started my own firm, and I began as a trainer. Luckily, I traveled the globe, so I had certain exposure, and I said, okay, I could do certain work. It also made me realize I needed to study more. So a lot of my educations actually happened much later in life. I haven't had degrees and then gone to work. I've started working and then picked up the degrees. So it's been different in that sense. And I started as a language coach, and I started as doing some culture work and cross culture sensitization. From there, I realized I wanted to be able to cut down, because those workshops meant full day training. It was a full day commitment. I wanted to cut down on the hours so that I could do other stuff and yet make a decent amount. So then I said, if I became a coach, it would be lesser hours and the same kind of money. So then I studied and I got myself certified to become a coach, and picked up certain degrees that would help me be a better coach, and what I do now, which is an achievement coach. So somebody who has certain ideas, goals, whichever, I work with that person. And then the behavioral psychology helps to see what are your blocks and what creates those blocks. At InfoCepts too, I lead the organization development entire space for the organization. So all the changes that we are talking about and bringing in the organization is something that I lead at InfoCepts. And and that's how actually I came to the Toastmaster world, because the Toastmasters at InfoCepts is under the OD umbrella. It's something that helps us bring in change for our people, and which is why I joined in, saying I can't have a project which is within my umbrella and
not know about it
and not be a part of it. Because I wasn't really looking at, I've heard of Toastmasters enough, but I wasn't really looking at saying, okay, I want to be able to improve my communication abilities or be on stage, because one has done enough of that. I wasn't looking to pick up leadership skills, because I said, okay, one's been doing that, etc. But it was that initiative, and it's also to me about integrity. If I'm promoting a thought and a concept in my organization, and if I'm not part of that thought and concept, it doesn't hold value.
So you actually uphold all the values of Toastmasters: integrity, respect, and service that you are rendering to all those who are disabled. And then, of course, excellence, trying to achieve excellence in all that you're trying to do. This is typically the core values of Toastmasters.
Yeah, and it's essential, right? And then in the journey, I'm sure you and I both realized that every single, in spite of the fact that I may speak well, in spite of the fact that I may have natural leadership skills, or there's no stage fright, etc., every one of the meetings that I'm a part of, wherever, within InfoCepts or outside sometimes, and I go, is such a beautiful learning experience.
No doubt.
One always goes away with having learned something.
Yes. And we never really realized that it's an hour and a half, and we've heard some amazing speeches, some very excellent thoughts that have come in, some wonderful sharing. And yes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just the energy of the person who speaks up, and you say, oh, wow, right? So it's truly beautiful. It's truly beautiful. So I've loved doing that in that space. And of course, within my organization, so there are a lot of clients that I work with within India, a lot of work that happens outside of India. And it's very essential for me because when I go out there, especially outside of India, to me, what comes as a base is I am a representative of my country. So I'm the face of India when
I always say that Mera Bharat Mahan. Come what may.
I'm a hardcore. I mean, it can't be good. I don't need a 15th August flag flying kind of thing. To me, it's just every day. You live it. Maybe it's the army upbringing. I don't know.
Could be.
But it's 15th August or 26th Jan are not what bring out, the Indian in me. It's just all the time.
Yes.
It's a constant thing of saying, how do I give back to a country that is my identity? I wouldn't give it up for anything under the sun. And I've been lucky. I've traveled the globe, and I keep coming back saying, no,
I know this is home.
Yeah, it is home.
Even I said, but I've traveled, of course, not 32. I think I read somewhere you've gone through every single state in India. And this was during the course of your cycling tours, expeditions, or was it?
No, actually, it's been about growing up, of course, because of the army background. But later, it's been work, it's been travel, it's been getting to know people in communities. So, one of the reasons I've chosen to not really take a full-time job has been that, though right now at InfoCepts, it's pretty much full-time. And I still manage to make the time, 2-3 days, and I do this. I just go to the railway station and hop onto a train, and whichever first train that's on the platform, buy a ticket.
Really?
Yeah, get onto the train, just go. And wherever I feel like, I get off. And then I go seeing that little place. Believe me, this country opens up doors for you like there's just no ask. You have to ring the bell and say, could I? I've lived with the Warli tribes. I've gone into Chambal and lived with some of the people there. I've been into Bastar, into Bihar, into the east of India in Tawang with people, in small little towns and villages, all the way down to Andamans with some of the tribes. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, Aparna, because the first thought that comes to all our minds is, how can you do this in India where we are considered to be so unsafe and such a huge risk it is to travel, hop onto a train and just go anywhere? How do you do that?
Everywhere. I think it come again. You believe in it and you see it. Right? It's the same thing. You believe in the goodness of people and it's there.
Yeah.
The beauty of this country is, I'm sure there are, not so safe a time and place. However, in our country, a woman is by and large respected, is safe, has, if you see a family and a door and a house, and if you went and rang the bell and said, may I stay the night here? It's been that. In Maharashtra, there's this beautiful community that's called Dhangar, right? They are these people who are nomads, and they have you've probably seen them around. They walk, they've got a few sheep, and then they have a donkey that carries things, and there's a kid sitting in that basket, and there's a dog that's walking along, and things like that. I've actually walked miles with these people, just tagged on to one group that I've seen, and I've said, could I join you? And they look at me weirdly first, and then they say, okay. And I say, I'll do whatever you want me to. And you live in the open spaces, or you live in one little tent that they create, and whatever. And miles across Maharashtra.
Language been, how did you communicate with these people, and especially across states where we don't speak the same language?
So, luckily, I think by and large, Hindi works courtesy Bollywood. That's one part. But I do speak 9 Indian languages. So
there you go. There's so much to know about you, Aparna. I cannot believe this.
So there is that helps also. But as I said, Hollywood and Bollywood, the impact that it creates, around the world, globally, like when you're in Europe, and I speak German, and so I think I've had German carry me through, but English works across the world everywhere. When I went to Everest, in part of my preparation, I started learning Nepalese because on the mountain, I didn't know when there'd be a panic situation. And typically, in a time of fear and panic, we turn to our mother tongue.
Yeah.
And so I learned Nepalese, saying that Sherpa needs, or I have to communicate. It also meant understanding the culture a little closer. Yeah. It also means building that rapport. It means I respect you as a person when I make an attempt to learn what
and
you
your
are.
Language. True. True, true.
Right. So I think that cultural framework is what I get uh, from being an Indian.
Yes.
It's and when the army background told you, I've always identified saying I'm an Indian. I mean, while Maharashtra State may have given me the award, and I say, okay, but
But
I've
you're an
always said
Indian first.
I'm Indian.
Absolutely.
That's what it is, and we've always encouraged at home. We've had this. I mean, while we've grown up, and I had typical grandparents, very conservative. My grandmother was one of those, the Brahmins who said, "Isko chute nahi hai, usko hath nahi lagate," that kind. Maybe that's why the rebel in me decided to do otherwise. My, being a Hindu born, my grandfather would say, and I'm sure a lot of Hindu families have heard this. Likewise, the Muslim families hear it too. But saying, "Bhai, kisi se bhi shadi kar lena, Musalman se nahi karna." That was my granddad, and he was worried because I had picked up Urdu. I have a master's in Urdu, and he would say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "The beauty of the language is what matters.
Yes.
It doesn't matter anywhere else." Then you made friends, and you realized what a beautiful community. You pick up what works for you. You don't have to, change who you are. So with the enthusiasm that I have Diwali at home, with the same energy, we have this huge Christmas tree and we have this big Christmas celebration, and most of us go to a midnight mass with friends around and things like that. And with the same amount of devotion that I keep the entire month of Rosas and Ramzan, right? And I have my fasts, and the first time it was a little challenging to be fasting all day, and you spoke to friends and you found out the details, but now it's become second nature, and it's perfectly possible, right? I mean, it's just something that you do. It's about, and not that everybody has to fast, but एक दिन तो करके देखिए ना, just one day, understand a little more about another community.
Yes, I was about to say that. A little more about another culture, a little bit more about the community. There is more compassion and empathy when you start knowing them, and then you don't start judging them because there is so much more to a person, to a community than just what sees the eye.
There's acceptance and tolerance that comes in truly, because then that is empathy. Most of the times we operate from an area of perspective or sympathy, one of the two. Empathy is just so different. So that's it's beautiful. I think it's just so beautiful.
So Aparna, I know we can go on and on, but I think we should ask you before I wind up. There's something that you've often talked about, and that is about giving back to the society. So before we go, how would you like to share this message about giving back to our viewers?
No, I think it's, when I say giving back, it comes from a sense of gratitude. And I say this to people as a psychologist a lot of times, especially now in the COVID times when we've had so much depression, people have been feeling isolated, there's been why me's. And among the various mantras that help me in life, one of the things has always been, I've never said why me. I've always asked saying what next. Okay, things didn't work. Why? It's not why me, it's what next. So that's the next step that helps you. But also, if somebody said, give me a quick practical tip on what could I do different, and I ask people to say, at the end of your day, I know it takes a little while, but right, and you can start with 5 things, eventually take it to 20, but 5 things you write down saying, what are you grateful for today? Okay. And I could be grateful for the fact that I'm alive. Another day gone by, I'm alive. Maybe some of us are not happy. Oh, why am I alive today? Could be a possibility. But the fact that I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, right? One of those. You're grateful for that. Maybe you're grateful for the fact that you have a roof on your house head today. It could be rented. Your rent could be overdue, but there is a roof on your head. You're not out in the open. So that's something. Maybe you didn't have all your 3 meals. Maybe you had one, but you're grateful for that meal, right? You are wearing clothes, you're not in the open, in the nude with somebody looking at you saying, why are you in the nude? You have one. It may not be that you have a cupboard full of clothes, but you have one set that you're wearing on you. So it could be anything. Write down 5 things that you're grateful for. And then ask yourself, from these 5, could I share one thing with somebody for tomorrow? Anything. For example, my house, and I'm saying this in open in media and wherever, and it probably will get me into trouble, but my house is always open. There's no lock on it. I've never locked it. When we are in the house, sometimes I shut it. But when none of us are in the house is an open house. And I'm saying, if there's nobody in the house, which is my family and the kids and us, there's nothing of value that cannot be replaced. It's an open house. My kids' friends know that. And they can come in, they can cook, they can eat. I just say clean up after you because I don't like to clean up. So clean up after you. But it's an open house. Come in. Someone needs a shelter. In this country, endless homes have opened up their houses for me when they didn't know me. My house is an open house. Anyone wanting to come into the city doesn't have a place. Just come over, stay, be a part. You move on whenever you want to move on. It's a loop that I probably need to close from somewhere. It's that little thing of giving back. If I have 2 sets of clothes, would I want to give one away? Would I want to lend it to somebody? I can take it back if I want. Right? If I have food and I've had all my 3 meals, tomorrow could I possibly, and it could be anything. It could be one roti ka tukra to a hungry dog. It doesn't have to be a 16-course meal. Just little things that you give back and realize it'll make you feel just so, and believe me, all of this, I'm being very selfish when I do this, okay? Because the kind of joy that it gives me.
It's the satisfaction. Like when you say it's a selfish thought, yes, it is, because I feel happy about it, of having done a good deed.
It is. It charges me up through the day saying, oh, wow, I could give somebody. Right?
So, Aparna, my last question, what next?
I don't really know. Of course, professionally, there are things I'd like to do more and learn more and go more. In terms of, well, achievements, projects, whatever, I think it goes on in various spaces and stuff. Another Everest, not really. One has done enough and been there and that sort of thing. But I'm actually looking at very small things, of saying every day, what next? Tomorrow, one person's life that I can make a difference to in any way possible. And that's all that there is.
So there's a very nice quote.
One life I can touch in any way possible. I want to be out there and do that. That's the next.
Yeah. So there's this thing that I read when I think I probably in my schooling years, and I read, any good that I can do today to any human being for as long as I can, let me do it now. Let me not neglect or defer it, for I may not pass this way again. So it is so beautiful to realize that today I can, so let me do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when I will pass through this way again. So, in a nutshell, it's all about myself, of course. When I say selfishly, I set goals, but then can I also help others achieve their goals? And there you are, your life and a small difference with one life. And I feel, yeah, it's a life well lived at the end of the day.
Totally. So when you go away, and there's that, tomorrow if you fall off the face of earth, which just might happen, one life that one has impacted. That's all that one wants. At least one life.
Wow, Aparna. So I can only wish you all the successes, all the happiness, all the cheer, good health, lots of good health, and in all your endeavors, professionally, at your personal, with your foundation as well. And I will definitely look forward to helping you if I can and whenever I can. And I'll get in touch with you after this. And I'm going to share the website link also to get in touch with you in our little, on the video as well.
Sure. Thank you so much.
This was a pleasure having me.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm hoping somebody who listens, as I said, touch one life somewhere. Even if that one person says, okay, I'm going to do something slightly different about my life today, I've got it made, I think.
And I'm sure they will. There'll be many, not just one, but many lives, because that's what you are already doing, touching many lives. And this is just another add-on. So yeah, thank you so much, Aparna. And thanks. I hope you stay safe. And I really wish we meet in real very soon.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mayuri.
Thanks, Aparna. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. See you. Thanks.